automation, and 52 million people rely on government assistance just to survive in this country. Wealth inequality is at an all-time high, and whether or not your family is wealthy or not, these issues affect us all. Thankfully, there are people who are developing different solutions to these problems to help reduce their effects. I'll be focusing on one of the more radical solutions that has been introduced recently, the idea of a universal basic income. I want to discuss more in depth the problems we're facing in the United States right now, and problems that will be arising in the future, and why a universal basic income could be the right solution to all these problems. As an industrial technology major here at Cal Poly, I've been able to see the interest many different industries have in developing and implementing more automation in the workplace. Automation is cheaper, easier to maintain, and more efficient than human labor, thus making it very attractive to businesses. This technology isn't going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, it's expanding now faster than ever, and it is also threatening more human-held jobs than ever. With the rise of machine learning and AI, jobs that we never thought would be automated are at risk. Along with the reality of the expansion of automation in the future, we're currently facing problems in the U.S. at this moment that need to be addressed. According to the U.S. Census data provided by the Huffington Post, 45 million people in the U.S., almost 13% of the population, live in poverty, and 20% of the population uses some form of government assistance. That means that in this classroom alone, nearly 8 of us utilize some sort of government assistance, myself included. These programs are necessary for the well-being of the people who live in this country, but I can tell you firsthand that the current systems that we have in place are convoluted, hard to navigate, and because of that, feel somewhat inaccessible if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Implementing a system called the Universal Basic Income could be the answer to these problems. A universal basic income, in simple terms, is the government providing the people of a country with a fixed income every month to help them survive and provide them with the basic necessities for life. There are 2 main types of UBI, conditional and unconditional. Unconditional being providing everyone who lives in a country with the same amount of money. Conditional is a bit more personalized, providing people who fit in different income brackets with different amounts of money depending on their need. Many of you are probably already thinking that a universal basic income would raise our taxes, making it far too expensive to afford. We're on college. I'll tell you right now that I'll take all the tax breaks I can get. I hate when I see my paycheck and see how much money I could be making, and then after taxes what I actually get. But the reality is, a universal basic income wouldn't be any more expensive to the taxpayer than our current public assistance programs. According to Tim Worstall in an article for Forbes magazine, he explains that a UBI would simply replace some of those programs already in place, creating a more streamlined, accessible, and independent form of public assistance that gives the recipient complete freedom to how they want to spend their money, holding them more accountable to what they do with their money. To put it into numbers, the U.S. government currently spends a little more than $3 trillion on public assistance, including welfare, Medicare, and food stamps. Under a UBI system that replaced these various programs with a flat $10,000 grant to every person in this country who is over 21, we would be paying around $3.2 trillion. This grant would automatically bring everyone in this country into the global top 10% of income with no increase in taxes. Even though we wouldn't be saving much money, what we would be doing is replacing the archaic systems that we currently have in place with a more streamlined, efficient, and modern way of approaching public assistance. Instead of having to go through the long application and interview processes that are currently in place to receive benefits, the UBI would automatically be applied to everyone over the age of 21, so there would be no grueling application process. The universal basic income could also greatly help the people who have their jobs displaced by technological advancement. Leaders in technology, including Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, have all touted a universal basic income because they know that robots are becoming more versatile in different fields, and there needs to be some way to support the massive amount of people who become unemployed because of these advancements. Universal basic incomes aren't just a thing of the imagination, though. Around the globe, and even within the US, small-scale universal basic income research is being held to see if it would actually work. In the country of The country of Finland is currently conducting an experiment to study the benefits and the drawbacks of a universal basic income and its effects on unemployment. 2,000 people between the ages of 25 and 50 are provided with a monthly grant of around 550 euros, tax-free, and were given complete freedom to how they want to spend this money. Mika Ruusinen, one of the people selected to be part of this study, was interviewed by CNBC and explained his situation and how the experiment actually helped him become employed again. He was unemployed for 19 months before he received these grants. Ruusinen was unemployed for 19 months before he was provided with these grants from the government. The grants didn't directly help him find a job, nor did they give him money to live comfortably with just the money that they provided him. But what they did do was give him a little bit more flexibility to live the life that he wanted to, and gave him the time to go back to school, switch career paths, and find a job in a new field. A UBI shouldn't be in place to fully pay for a person's cost of living. Rather, it should be just enough money to grant them the freedom to try new things, go back to school, start a business, change career paths. It gives them the option it gives them a new lease on life. When it comes to what we can do for implementing new innovative policy reform, and even just starting a more constructive conversation about these topics, is to stay on top of new information that is released. And there's a lot of it currently, because this is a hot topic. I must admit, right now it feels a little bit experimental, and it's not something that's at the forefront of political discussion regarding the topics of unemployment and income inequality. But what we can do is to continue to follow this research that's done on universal basic incomes and the validity that it is, and its validity as a use of public assistance. If you guys are at all interested in what I've been discussing, you can follow a nonprofit company from Oakland, California called Y Combinator. It's a startup based in Oakland, and its proposed plan is to raise $60 million so it can provide 1,000 residents of Oakland's poorest neighborhoods with $1,000 a month to provide more research based on UBI and how it affects communities and the individuals that we would provide the money to. Another way we can make a difference is voting for representatives that support the idea of universal basic income. Bernie Sanders endorses the idea, and the California Democratic Party just announced that UBI is now part of their platform. So if you vote for a Democrat in this state, you're also passively voting in support of universal basic income. I hope you guys can see how universal basic income isn't as radical as it might seem in theory, and that it truly could be a great solution to some of the problems that we'll be facing in the future and that we face right now. Maybe in the future, all of us in this room could be receiving a small form of public assistance so we can pursue our dreams and come up with even more world-changing ideas.